Hey everyone, it is the 22nd of January 2021. I am Greg Sanders and I have a guest with me today. Joining me is Josh.
Hello.
Okay, so this is episode 3 of Wandavision, and pretty much I have to say, given that I have to do a little bit of house cleaning before we get into it. So, one, my son was born. So this episode had a double layer for me because it was really interesting to see 9 months in 30 minutes, because it really, in real life, it feels like that. It's crazy to think that 9 months ago, we've waited 9 months for my son and he popped out, and then this show, they pop out twins. I loved that, so it was very poignant, had a lot of fun. Hey, Storm Gamer, welcome aboard. So, then I also, because it's been a little bit, I have a bunch of notes, so I'm going to try to get through this before we talk about the episode, because I do want to dive into the episode. Marvel has announced Heroes Reborn. Now, Heroes Reborn was a really crappy 90s event that completely redid the entire Marvel universe. I know some people are saying, like, because of the anniversary, they're going back to that same universe. I don't think they are. I just wanted to touch base on it real quick because I'm very excited. I think the Heroes Reborn event that's going to be happening this summer in Marvel Comics might be a little bit of a sort of Ultimate Universe thing. I think we're going to see a new universe, a little subline begin where these characters are kind of reversed. So, like, we're going to see another version of a young Peter Parker. I really think we're going to do that. I think that's what Heroes Reborn is going to be this summer. I don't think it's going to be going back to the same 90s event that happened. I really think it's going to be more of a little bit more ultimate than it is 90s Heroes Reborn. So I'm really excited about that. If they drop a Heroes Reborn Spider-Man #1, with a teenage Peter Parker, I'll be there. Because if you know me, if you've been following the channel, really, really excited. I love teenage Peter Parker. I love the setting in high school, and I think the Marvel Comics continuity is just very weighed down and heavy, so I like a little bit of a refresh every so often. Hey, Alexis. Hey, Ford. So Stormgamer said, when your son Anakin sees the Skywalker lightsaber for sale at Walmart, that lightsaber, it belongs to me. Actually, he doesn't even have to go to Walmart. I have the old Force FX Skywalker lightsaber hanging in my toy room. I have it mounted, and I've already shown it to him. Speaking of which, the very first, I'm very proud of this. The nurses had a kick out of it, and my wife, of course, she just lets me do whatever I want at this point. But the very first thing he heard when he was born was the Imperial March. I had that playing as he popped out, so to speak, because it's his namesake. I had to do it, so I had the Imperial March playing as I cut the cord and everything. So that was a great time, and he's been listening. He's had Star Wars music on since he got home. He is napping right now. He's just he just finished feeding because he's taking up my wife's boobs. I haven't had any time with them. All of that being said, is Wanda the villain in WandaVision? I don't think so. We're about to talk about it, though. Yes. Hey, Ben. This was a great episode. I loved it. It was very 70s. It reminded me of, again, I watch a lot of old television and stuff. I love TV Land if you watch our review and discussion on episode 1 and 2. So I know a lot of these little references. But like it, very much so, I felt like a little bit of Three's Company, a little bit of Brady Bunch. I really got the 70s vibe, most definitely. And I loved the costumes. The costumes were amazing. I adored this episode. I love the 70s era. I really do. If you could get me going out in bell bottoms, I totally would. So, Josh, overall, since you are our guest, I will let you start. Let's start with your overall thoughts and impressions on this episode.
I don't know. I prefer it to the first two.
Okay.
I think that is a personal thing. I think that's because I like colorful. I like colorful films. I like colorful TV, and this one was much more colorful than the others.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean,
it wasn't Technicolor.
I can't really speak on any of the 70s stuff because, I'm 15.
Yeah, that's true.
I've not really seen much like 70s shows. I'm not familiar with it, but I mean, from like the episode and what it means, I just think it's so cool, and I love the fact that it's slowly starting to feel more like House of M, and I'm really excited about the twins. I really hope they have accelerated growth.
Oh, I think they will, Billy and Tommy. I bet you anything the next episode they're going to be like little kids.
If they're babies forever, it's going to be so boring.
They won't be.
I want to see Wiccan doing some mad stuff, you know?
They won't. I'm telling you, man. By the end of this episode, by the end of this series, they're probably going to be young adults because of they're going to have accelerated aging. They did in the comics too.
Yeah. And I hope with Evan Peters, I kind of hope he plays Speed, to be honest.
Interesting. Interesting. Go on.
It would just be perfect. He was Quicksilver and then he'd be Speed. But also, again, if they do the whole comic book thing, Mephisto could be involved, and I think he'd be a good Mephisto.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I still think. I mean, I'm on the bridge that he's either Mephisto or Evan Peters is playing Quicksilver from that universe, from the multiverse.
Yeah.
The kids are going to be in the real world. Yeah. All of this is... So, let me real quick get to some of this. Is it possible that Wanda will pull an event similar to No More Mutants? Yes. I think the difference is, instead of No More Mutants, I think Wanda is going to... Her big moment is going to be completely breaking down the wall of the multiverse. Like, this is going to be it. The inciting incident has been her trying to get Vision and this idea of her family back, and the conclusion of it, very much so like No More Mutants was in the comics, the conclusion is going to be completely destroying the walls between the multiverse. I really believe that's what's going to happen. Alexis loved the 2 episodes, but was also confused in some scenes, but still loved them. Alexis has been hearing about Mephisto. Yeah, I've been talking about Mephisto for weeks. I'm 99% positive Mephisto has a role in this, because he has a role in the comics too. Stormgamer says, how much you want to bet that Vision will eventually piece together that he's dead? And Luke says, are the kids going to be in the real world? Yes, the kids are going to be in the real world. I do think Vision's going to eventually realize, I'm almost positive he will come to the conclusion and piece it all together that, wait, I'm dead. I feel like, and again, this is a theory I've touched on briefly, it's starting to form together. I really think they're I just wouldn't be surprised because of the television angle. If they do a reverse for Wonder Man Simon Williams is an actor in the comics. He was a huge actor who did a lot of major film and television. And I think it would be hilarious if Wanda gave Simon the role of the lifetime, and Wanda, as very much so like how Simon became Vision in the comics because of his brain patterns, if Wanda turned the actor Simon Williams into Vision. And we get a beautiful little ode to that comic book event, because again, there are so many references to 57, which again, 57, Avengers issue 57 is the first appearance of Vision, where he was created from Simon Williams. I really think they're going there. I 100% think they do. I think Vision's going to be back by the end of the show, and it's going to be at the cost of Simon Williams, who, if you don't know, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, there was deleted content. Simon Williams was cast in that movie. He was going to be played by Nathan Fillion. And this is just me trying to put some stuff together. I don't know definitely if he was there for this, but at the time WandaVision was filming, during the filming of it, for a small window of about 3 days, Nathan Fillion was in Atlanta. He could have been there for a different reason. But it is, I do wonder if some of these pieces are coming together, or if that's coincidental, and if Evan Peters is going to end up being Simon Williams, will they just completely recast Simon Williams? But by all technicalities, Simon Williams was cast in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He was in the flashbacks, and some of his posters you can still make out. He was in the flashback in Volume 2 on theater posters. And then he was played by Nathan Fillion, and now, coincidentally, we had Nathan Fillion in Atlanta during the time WandaVision was shooting. So, again, we can put some of that together. Yes, I do think Agatha is Agnes. I talked about that in last week's episode. I 100% believe that that Agatha has the same role she did in the comics, where she facilitates a connection with Mephisto and Wanda. I wouldn't be surprised if Ralph ends up being Mephisto. The other thing that I want to touch on, which I thought was interesting, so I want to make this very clear, not to be the MCU's version of Professor X, but Patrick Stewart met before the filming of WandaVision. Patrick Stewart met with Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige wanted him to return to play his Professor X, and I wonder if it was for a cameo in WandaVision. I do think this show is going to have a lot of surprises. I do think this show could start to open the door for mutants, and just looking at where else Patrick Stewart's Professor X could fit in, it feels like it would have been here. It feels like it would have been for this show because they met before WandaVision started filming. Patrick Stewart turned it down. He's kind of moved on from that, which I totally respect. That's his right. He has his right to retire. But I do wonder if it was for this series because of the multiverse, which again leads us back to Evan Peters, Quicksilver, Mephisto, whoever he's playing. And then furthermore, the rumors about Ian McKellen appearing in the show as Magneto. There is a lot going on with the rumors. It's hard to piece through, again, who actually will end up appearing in it, but there's a lot to be excited for. I think this show is going to be amazing. So then we saw the literal wall at the end of this episode. We saw Monica thrown out of it. We know Wanda has some control over it. The question is she solely responsible for creating it? Did she have help in creating it? And who would have helped her? That's where Mephisto comes in. Mephisto's role in altering reality, maybe unlocking the last, vestiges of Wanda's powers, just like the commercial, find the goddess within. All of this is, these little messages of her and her powers, unlocking her powers, finding the goddess within. All of this, I think, is building to that House of M moment, that no more mutants moment where she realizes the full potential. She destroys the walls between the multiverse. That leads us into Spider-Man 3. That leads us into Doctor Strange 2. And I'm almost positive we're going to see Wanda in Spider-Man 3. We know we're seeing her in Doctor Strange 2. And I think it's all building to that, into the multiverse stepping down, which finally, of course, Kevin Feige officially said the multiverse is an ongoing part of the MCU after this. He said it verbatim. We don't have to read between the lines. The multiverse is an ongoing part of the MCU following WandaVision. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on the multiverse sticking around?
I mean, I like it. Obviously, it opens up a load of windows. You can have different versions of everyone coming in. And I think it'd be really cool to see different characters, well, not different actors' takes on the characters, because you can have that now. You don't have to worry about the continuity of what the actor did with it previously. You could bring in Tom Cruise Iron Man. He could act completely different to Tony Stark Iron Man. And
you really want to see Tom Cruise's Iron Man, don't you?
It's just cool.
Every time we talk, that's what comes up.
There's loads of things, and it excites me. John Krasinski, Captain America, there's loads.
Yeah. So then, because I always kind of like doing these little bets and speculations, and I have a guess, so let's do it. So 100, if you 100% putting your money on it, who do you really think Evan Peters is playing in the show?
Oh, Christ. This one's really hard. But I'm gonna...
That's what she said.
Because then she didn't. Probably Mephisto.
Okay.
Speed's the one I'd find the coolest. Well, actually, no. Quicksilver's the one I'd find the coolest. Speed would be just too perfect. But I don't know. I think Mephisto's probably the most likely because I'm 100% sure he's involved in this show. I've got no doubt.
Okay, so you feel like Evan Peters, if you put money on it, he's Mephisto. He's not going to be his Quicksilver.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay, and then so let's start up with the next series of questions. Do you think Vision will be alive at the end of the series?
See, here's the thing. I'm not sure it'll be the same Vision.
Well,
I'm not sure with the multiverse opening up, we might get a different Vision that's exactly the same. That might be how they explain it away. But I don't know. I think in some form, he will be back permanently.
So, on the basic level, you think Vision will survive?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. So do I. For me, Evan Peters, I really want to say Mephisto, but if they really are breaking down the multiverse like this, and now with Patrick Stewart confirming he was approached, I think he might be his Quicksilver. I do. I think he might actually be. So then, let's kind of dive. Let's kind of touch base on these rumors. How likely you think any of these rumors are? Do you think Ian McKellen will have a cameo in the show?
Yes.
What's your gut tell you? Your gut tells you yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to get my hopes up, but my gut tells me yes too, and I feel like I feel like I'm going to be disappointed.
I love Ian McKellen.
I do too. He's an amazing actor. I love him so much. Very generous, great man. My favorite role of his is still Gandalf, though.
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, so I couldn't comment on that.
Oh, you bastard! How have you not seen that?
I mean, I would watch it in a heartbeat. I don't.
Oh my god. Okay, I can't do this with you right now. I can't get off on a Tolkien tangent. That's insulting. I mean, if you're gonna sit and watch movies, you need to watch those, for God's sake. Okay. Next crazy rumor. Again, any of this could be reaching. But if we know about Ian McKellen, what about the rumor about Michael Fassbender?
I mean,
do you think we could see both Magnetos, or do you think we would only see one?
Yeah, again, my gut's going with yeah. My gut's going with yeah again.
Really? You think both? You think both Magnetos will have a cameo? Okay,
it'd be cool.
It would be cool. I don't disagree. I just if we're going to discuss,
far-fetched, so yeah.
But
yeah.
What were you going to say, Josh?
Now that you bring up this, I'm starting to doubt whether Mephisto's most likely for Quicksilver. For Evan Peters, I don't know which one's more likely now.
Okay, and then do you think Ralph is Mephisto?
I don't know. Mephisto's too in the air for me to decide on anything, to be honest. I really have no idea.
Okay,
I just know that Mephisto, he's going to be involved. He has to be, sure.
I think we talked about it last week, and I talked about it earlier in the show, Ricky, but I think I feel like Ralph might actually be Mephisto. The question is, okay, Josh, because of how they keep building up Ralph, let's do a two-part question. Do you think Ralph is going to be a character we know?
Yes.
Who do you think it could be? What does your gut tell you as you keep where does your mind go with Ralph?
Not WandaVision. Mephisto is up there, but I don't know if it's not just maybe he's like an agent we've seen before wearing the disguise thing that
the beekeeper uniform.
Yeah, maybe that's a good shout. But maybe it's maybe he's got the technology from the Winter Soldier that changes your face, and maybe he's just some agent we've seen in the background before or something.
Oh, so you think it could be? I don't think he's going to be that throwaway. I speculated before that Ralph is either going to be Mephisto, who has been responsible for everything, or he could end up being a trapped Doctor Strange.
I think that's probably a possibility. Yeah.
Ford said he got freaked out when the doctor said a small town life is hard to escape. Oh, I love that. The doctor who was checking on the twins and stuff. Yeah, that was a really that was an ominous moment. And then he goes over to his neighbors and Agatha, and they won't. I mean, I love the creepy factor of it. It reminds me of I was trying to tell this to my wife. It's a movie that is relatively old, early 2000s, but it gave me just kind of creepy vibes, a little bit of Pleasantville. But there's another film that I just, for the life of me, the name escapes me, that just kind of reminds me of this this vibe. And if you want to go even further back, it also kind of reminds me of The Burbs with Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher, a movie that I love. But it has this creepiness to it that I love so much, and also how it plays with reality, how it keeps jumping around. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. We talked about it last week because I noticed the change in episode 2, and it changed again in episode 3. Their house keeps changing. Their house actually keeps getting bigger. And I talked last week about Dante's Inferno. WandaVision has 9 episodes. There are 9 circles of hell, and we keep getting an additional floor to their house. So if they keep going in this trajectory, we'll have 9 floors of their home, and there will be 9 circles of hell, and that all leads to Mephisto. And I just wonder if that's where we're going with this. I'm fascinated with the biblical overtones. I'm fascinated with Dante's Inferno. It's one of my favorites. And I I don't think that that's lost. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think I feel like we're witnessing Wanda's descent, so to speak. We're witnessing her descent further into the nine circles, and between the episodes, between the titles, I just feel like it's all going there. Then, of course, we had the commercial. I love the commercial. I love the ads and the other ones. I talked about this before as well. I think those are her quote-unquote parents. I'm using quotation marks because I think she's going to end up finding out that they're not her biological parents, because we're going to start planting those seeds. We know he's coming, so to speak. Magneto is out there. I mean, Kevin Feige's not going to waste one of the most popular, beloved characters in Marvel Comics. They're going to have to start building him up some way. And I've talked about these rumors before. We've touched on this, for weeks now, that Marvel is going to be introducing mutants before there is an X-Men movie. And we already have Wanda. We potentially have Pietro being resurrected. And that's one of the last rumors I wanted to get to, because we've talked about all these other rumors. There is the rumor that the MCU Quicksilver, Aaron Taylor Johnson, was on set and filmed in WandaVision. So, Josh, what do you think of that? Do you think that's accurate? Do you think we'll see his Quicksilver again?
I think it's very, very likely. If there's a chance of us seeing Evan Peters Quicksilver, sure there's a chance of us seeing the actual canon Quicksilver we've got now.
Yes.
And they've mentioned him in this already. So
and Ultron, we got an Ultron mentioned.
It'd be cool to see Ultron coming back as well.
I think
he's so much of a bigger threat than he is in the movie. Like, in reality, he's so much cooler than he was in Age of Ultron.
Oh yeah, Ultron's far cooler in the comics, even in the cartoons, Earth Mightiest Heroes. Like the movie, Joss Whedon did a huge disservice to Ultron. I'm sorry, but he totally did. Oh, Ben, that's a great theory too. That Doctor Strange is trapped in the form of a rabbit. That he's the rabbit that's being passed around in episode 2. I would love that. I wouldn't be surprised if... I feel almost positive we're going to see Doctor Strange in this series. He's going to probably appear in one of the last episodes. The question is he already trapped, or is he going to be one of the people... one of the people who comes into the world to finally set things right and free her. Alexis hasn't seen the 3rd episode. Yes, there is an overt Ultron reference. Let's put it that way. And Monica, Monica's going to be a great character. I mean, they have cast her so well. I can't wait to see her in the quote unquote real world.
With Monica.
Yeah.
Do you think, if she doesn't already, do you think this could be how she gets her powers? Do you reckon Wanda could, boom, have them, or something like that? Or maybe she threw over a special type of magic that gave her powers or something,
Yeah, actually, I was going to touch on that. I feel like with Monica, and obviously, I mean, you could say this. There's really only 2 options for her to get her powers at this point. Either they do it in Captain Marvel 2, or since she's already in WandaVision and all this crazy stuff's going around, she's going to get her powers at the conclusion of this series, which is what I expect more of, because I feel like Monica's going to have an arc. I feel like she's going to end up having that kind of arc and will develop. And so by the end of this series, she has also unlocked something, become the goddess within, so to speak. Do you think the mailman has a bigger role? Yeah, actually, yeah. I have to be honest. I think there's a lot of these little throwaway things we're seeing that are going to end up coming back later. I think the mailman, the beekeeper, I've already touched on. I know the beekeeper had a sword logo on his uniform, but I still feel like there's something nefarious about him. I can't help it. I just get that vibe that he like whoever is going to end up being Mephisto, because he crawled out of a sewer. He literally crawled out of a hole in the ground, like hell. Like he ascended from the ground. So,
and he did the evil turn as well.
He did. Like, I get that he had the sword logo, but there was something about him. I don't know. It felt nefarious. Let's see, what else was there? Oh, Alexis said, I wonder how Ultron could have been handled in Avengers Age of Ultron if it was directed by the Russo brothers. I think it would have been more authentic. I think it would have been more faithful. But also, I would hope anyway that they would have had a different perspective than Joss Whedon, which is to say he would have survived, because Joss Whedon was really intent on getting rid of Ultron and getting rid of one of the Avengers in this movie. Like, Joss Whedon was like, no, somebody has to die. And I always think that's a mistake. For one, I don't like death, And I think death in fiction is just disappointing because you just end up losing characters that could be significant. Like, these are fictional characters. There is no reason to start killing them off when there is a number of potential stories to tell. Which also wraps back around. There's a lot of different things I want to talk about, but absolutely, I think there's room for Ultron. I think there's room for Ultron to return in this show as well. If you think about the idea of who really doesn't like Wanda and who could be doing this to her and who has a grudge against Wanda, Ultron has a grudge against Wanda. He could be
Also,
very upset.
Like, with the nature of Ultron and how he survives, he could very easily have survived that Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
Because they destroyed everything around him he could latch onto. He could latch onto anything.
In my
He
opinion,
could have been hidden inside a Vision for all we know.
I believe very much so Ultron survived. And all he's waiting on is somebody who is an individual who has an idea to tell a story. I do believe Ultron survived. Like, writing him off like that is just poor storytelling. It's the same way they wrote off Quicksilver. Just a waste. Oh yeah, Stark did. Tony Stark fucks up everybody. I mean, he's spying on teenage boys. He is a pedophile. And then he goes around and he's screwing up Wanda's life. It's like, this man should have been locked up. If you've been following the channel, you know I have a distaste for Tony Stark being the center of the universe in the MCU. It's not my favorite thing.
What about the character himself? Do you like Robert Downey Jr.'s?
I like Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal, but I don't think he should be the center of the universe. And I was never a big fan of him in the comics. Like, I wasn't reading Iron Man. I read the Avengers, yeah, but I wasn't reading Avengers for Iron Man either. Like, Iron Man was just not a character I cared about. The movies didn't really change that either. You know, if I was reading Avengers, I was reading it for Hawkeye. I was reading it for the team interactions. I was reading it for Vision and Wanda, you know, Ant-Man, Wasp, those characters. Like, I wasn't even reading it for Captain America. I was reading it for what, frankly, a lot of people back then considered, you know, third-tier characters. Like, nobody gave a crap about Ant-Man, Wasp, Vision, and Wanda. Nobody did. It's a different time now. The movies have dramatically changed things. The world's very different now, and all these second, third-tier characters. Do you think Ultron could show up in Armor Wars or Ironheart? I think he's more likely to show up in Armor Wars because I feel like Ironheart's going to be a more intimate story. I don't feel like Riri Williams' story fits in with the return of Ultron. It doesn't work for me. There's no relationship there. I just think it would kind of rain on her parade. I think she needs time to breathe and become her own character. But Armor Wars, I could see. Frankly, in my opinion, I would rather see Ultron's, us start to get clues of his return in WandaVision, just because of how this is dealing with shaping reality and artificial intelligence. And I stand by this. Ultron only has one creator, and I'm always going to say it, and that creator is Hank Pym. I would love to see Ultron in an Ant-Man film. That's where I'd like to see him make his big return. I really want to see that. I would love to see a plot twist or a retcon that shows that the Ultron program was originally started by Hank Pym back in the day, and Tony Stark just kind of took it because that's in his character. Tony Stark just steals things. He steals little boys, and he steals, computer stuff.
Oh my God. Steals little boys.
But yeah, for me, like I want to see Ultron come back, but I want to see him come back in an Ant-Man film because I want to see that relationship rebuilt. Just like how I feel if they take that, if they turn Simon Williams into Vision in this clever way, like, oh hey, it's the biggest role of a lifetime, and you're on television. I would love that. That would be a great twist if Wanda or Mephisto twisted Simon Williams into Vision. Like, that would be an amazing twist. Really creepy and frightening, but I would love it. And I think the show could go there. What were you going to say, Josh?
Would Simon Williams still, be alive somewhat? Would he, share a body with Vision, or would he just be dead and Vision would take over?
No, he'd be dead and Vision would take over. That's what happened in the comics.
That is so dark.
That's why Grim Reaper hated them. Grim Reaper was Simon Williams' brother. And when he found out that they did this, that's what he became a big villain because of that. He hated Wanda and Vision for what they, quote unquote, for what he saw as a perceived injustice. And I feel like Grim Reaper is going to be in this show because we haven't seen him, but we have seen his helmet in the opening credits. And I feel like all of this is setting up to mean something. And there's still plenty of episodes left. And next week we're going to the 80s. And did you see? I just want to say this real quick because I love when films do this. I love it when they do it in IMAX too. But I loved at the end when they went to modern times and it took on the widescreen format. Did anybody else notice, or
I did not notice.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I love when it took on the widescreen format in modern times. Loved it so much. That was great. Alexis said, what you said reminds me of Hank Pym becoming Ultron from a comic. Oh, yeah, that was a comic book event. A pretty good one, too, given Marvel has been, frankly, shitty lately. What if the Grim Reaper is Mr. Hart? Again, I could see that. I at this point, it's really fascinating because you can't trust anyone if you think about it. We don't know who these people actually are, except for... Oh, yeah.
The women could also be like Mephisto and Grim Reaper and that, because it is, it's not out of the question for there to be a gender change when they change it over to the big screen.
No, true. They could easily. You're totally right, and there'd be nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't care if they they made Grim Reaper a woman and her brother and sister, which again would parallel. I think the brothers parallel it just as well because of Tommy and Billy, Wanda and Pietro, and there's a strong sense of siblings in this show, and I think it's on purpose. And I think the last, the sort of trifecta of metaphor is to introduce Grim Reaper and Simon Williams, two brothers who have their lives destroyed by Wanda. Like, that's powerful. That really is. The question is there's all these layers to it. I feel like Mephisto's after the children. He was after the children in the comics. I think that's going to come back. Will we go to the early 2000s? Because there was a lot of great early 2000s sitcoms. Oh, yeah. As far as Kevin Feige described it, we're going to pretty much follow each decade. So we're going to do the 80s. We're going to do the 90s. I assume the 90s is going to be Full House, because how can you have Elizabeth Olsen and not do a Full House parody? It'd be a waste, in my opinion. So we just did the 70s, so we're going to do the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and we're going to catch right up to the modern times and I assume when it hits the modern time is when everything breaks down. And quite literally, reality breaks down and breaks apart, and Wanda does the irreversible action of saying, I don't know how they could coin it to be a clever phrase, but no more one universe. I have no idea. No more, singular universe or whatever, but I really think that this is going to open up. Yes, this is only on Disney+. None of the shows have any plans to be put on video or on and they won't be on any other streaming service. Yeah, it's not even coming out to Blu-ray. All the Disney+ shows are exclusively, you have to watch it on Disney+. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to touch on because there is so much going on. If you're in our Discord, we've already kind of been talking about it. Filming, a lot of movies are getting delayed. Morbius has been delayed to January 2022. I do wonder what effect that's going to have on Spider-Man 3 because Morbius was originally supposed to launch before it because of the appearance of Adrian Toomes. Now it's coming out afterward because Spider-Man 3 is still slated for December and Venom 2 is still slated for June, so that's going to be fascinating. More than that, none of the Disney films have changed. None of the Marvel Studio Disney films have changed their schedules yet. We'll see if they end up going to a simultaneous streaming distribution. But what is exciting is Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, has said that Thanos is in the Eternals. I don't know if he slipped that up on accident. Jim Starlin is not an individual who would be confused, but Jim Starlin, very, very reputable individual who would know. I do think he slipped up because it was quickly taken down, but Jim Starlin has said that Thanos is going to be in the Eternals. I am going to say it is a flashback. I think we all kind of Alexis, yeah, young Thanos. I don't believe it's not going to be present day. Like he's not like getting resurrected or anything like that. It's more than likely going to be flashbacks with Thena, who is more than likely going to be his sister in the MCU. I wouldn't be surprised if they make that relationship a little closer, so to speak. I'm not talking about incest, but. So with Thanos coming back, it does lead. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but because it's been a while if you think about it. My God, it's been a long time since Eternals filmed. But if we wind the clock back there was a very, very old set report that we talked about that said, Josh Brolin was quote unquote spotted on set. So it's possible that could have ended up being factual. When I talked about it back then, I said it wouldn't surprise me. This movie's going to jump around through time. They already have Thena. I really wouldn't be shocked, but nobody caught photos of him, so I really don't like signing off unless, we can actually see it. Still, no photos have ever shown up of Josh Brolin on set, but it does tie back around to a very old report, and now Jim Starlin saying that. So I'm leaning very towards it. I'm leaning very towards, I feel very confident now that we might actually see Thanos in a flashback in Eternals. Do you think death... Oh, yes, Josh.
Do you reckon we could see Star Fox then, given that Thanos has shown up?
God, I'd love to. I would love to see that. I would also, with the way Kevin Feige, and we know a movie's in development, between Star Fox and starting to open up the other side of the cosmic universe a little bit, finally getting Rick Ryder and Sam the Nova. I think there's a lot of opportunities for what Eternals could do, and I think there's still surprises to be had. Do you think death has something to do in WandaVision? No, I don't think it's going to be death. I think it's going to be Mephisto. If there's a supernatural entity involved, I think it's literally going to be the devil. How could Wanda ruin Wonder Man's life if we never saw him in the MCU? Well, I mean in the respect of he's an individual who had a life and a family, and then he has his brother Grim Reaper, and maybe that's how Grim Reaper gets involved. Like, even if he was cut from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or if they retcon that and say, no, it wasn't Nathan, whatever they end up doing with Wonder Man, Simon Williams, I feel like there is a very clear opportunity to build on what seems to be a metaphor of siblings and family and relationship going throughout this show. So even though we might not have an intimate relationship with Simon Williams, the show can still build it up through Grim Reaper of losing his brother, very much so like how Wanda lost Pietro. I think it could work. What do you think, Josh? Do you think we would have needed to see Simon Williams before this for it to matter?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
I think they could. They're very creative people. They can find a way to make it work, I'm sure.
I think they could. I absolutely think they could. Okay, so we hit the 40-minute mark. We are going to wrap up here. I want to thank everybody for joining. I'm so grateful and so thankful to my YouTube memberships. Thank everyone so much for being a YouTube membership. I really support that. And to all of my subscribers, it means a great deal to me. I really, truly do appreciate that. Our schedule should be returning to relative normalcy. We are all home now. We also, unfortunately, because of the hospital, we had to get COVID tested. So we got shit shoved up our noses. Everything, of course, was clear and safe and fine. But everything should be pretty much going back to normal. Live shows will start back up on Monday. Saturday, we have an animated short that I'm very excited to share. As far as me being able to work on animation, I'm hoping to do that. Pretty much Saturdays are going to be Saturday morning cartoons is what I call it, just like what I kind of grew up with. I want to have little animated stuff on Saturdays. On Sunday, this Sunday, I'm very excited. We have a collaboration with another channel, Liz Edits. Miss Elizabeth is a wonderful editor who has a great sense for mixing. So I'm going to be hosting one of her music videos, and it is pretty much a celebration of the Spider-Verse. It is a collab so much to say that I had a couple of ideas that I gave her, and she did all the work. And there will be links to her channel and ways to check her out that I really do look forward to sharing with you guys on Sunday. And then Monday, our live shows pop back up. And of course, next Friday, we are back with another WandaVision episode. So thank all of you so much. If there's anything I missed, or if you have any other comments or theories that I can follow up on next week, drop them below. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.